a very deep and very lively discussion about the wonders and the good things of Bradley Beach. And we are so grateful to Yu Mei, who is moderating, who is from MOGA, the Museum of Chinese in America. And we are so grateful to them for their tremendous support in the beautiful exhibit and their interest in collecting all of the stories that we are going to be producing as a result of this program. So if anyone is interested in calling to arrange to have your oral history taken, you can see where it goes. You heard the wonderful work that comes from MOGA. So it's my pleasure to turn it over to you, Mei.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Yue Ma. I'm the Director of Collections and Research at Museum of Chinese American. So today, my colleague Harvey Ney and Nancy Tam, we are very honored to be here, to be invited by Jeanette, Jane, and also Paul. So we are really happy to be here to display the collections we choose, and they're on the table. Please feel free to take a look. So we bring the paper sculptures, we bring the Shanghai game board, and also the Cantonese opera costume. There are also letters in Chinese we translate into English, and there are horseshoes and the ladies' foot bending shoes. So there are different things. There are a lot of images we bring in. There are Chinese Chinatown images and also Bradley Beach image. So on the way here, I didn't realize it's a long trip from Manhattan to Bradley Beach. So I'm really impressed like how the first family settled up here and travel all the way down south to the beach to buy the house. Okay, so it's not far, but it sounds to me really far. I thought it's like just outside Manhattan, and there is a beach. That's what I thought. But anyways, I learned. I did learn a lot. Not only this time, but also right after I moved from China. I'm the first generation. I moved all the way to from China to here, and the MOGA is my first job. So you know how much I learned about Maastricht, about Chinatown. And today, I feel like the Chinatown moved to Bradley Beach. Because when we talk about PS23, there are so many people raise your hand. And also, I saw one family also raise hand on the Transcontinental Railroad. I really want to reach out to each of you to learn your family history, to collect items from you. It can be photograph, paper, piece of paper, and even just a story. Like today, we will talk and learn family histories that we will collect in our collection. Then like what Professor Eva said, in the future, maybe it's like your grandchildren or scholars, professors, filmmakers, they will come to our collection and research center and then do research. And today I met Jade Mock and also others. They just tell me they can recognize people on the photograph we brought in. So we would like to collect all the names from you. So each of you will be like very good resource of us. So I would like to learn from all of you and put the name you recognize into our database. So in the future, whoever do research will search this name and find your family history in the future. Okay, so we can start. We are really happy to have everyone here and also honored to have Eva Jane also join us to ask questions.
Yeah. So one of the things that I really used MOCA as a resource, because when MOCA at its grassroots was the Chinatown History Project, the oral histories that were taken back in the 1980s were ones that really helped me to craft certain sections of this book. I really wouldn't have been able to do that if other staffers in the early days of MOCA hadn't done that. So I think that if you're thinking about, I mean, it's so important, these stories for future generations. You can think about your great-grandparents grandchildren as budding scholars coming in to try to learn the histories. It's incredibly important. So did we want to ask folks questions on the panel first and then open it up to the audience?
And today I hope it's only just like the start. We do have some Bradley Beach pictures, but we don't have a lot collections. So I hope this can be our first oral history interview. And moving forward, we can schedule a time and you are welcome to come to our museum. We can do a deeper interview with you to learn your family history. So it's really open to the family's story on the stage and also as well as you. Or if you have any questions to our panel, feel free to ask. Yeah, so you want to start?
Well, I'm just curious because folks here on the stage have such long, deep roots with Bradley, with both Chinatown as well as Bradley. There's so many questions that we can ask, but I'm really curious if there is anything about like experiences that you feel only could have happened in Bradley Beach from your childhood. Or it can even be stories from, you know, that were told to you by other family members. But I'm really curious about that. I'm sure there are a lot.
Yeah, so please speak your name and then.
My name is John Mock, originally from Chinatown. My grandfather's store was 32 Mott Street, was there over 100 years. It was called Wong Yun Xing Company. My mother was a teacher at PS 23. We all attended PS 23. And it was my grandmother who bought 104 Newark Avenue. Supposedly, someone stopped her in the street, says, "You want to buy a house?" And she said, "Yes." And supposedly it was $2,000, which was a lot of money then. And I thank them for that decision because, as you can see, it's a great place to live, raise kids. We initially lived here only in the summers, and about 2000, we knocked down our original house and built a permanent house, which had modern, facilities and utilities. I moved here in 2012 permanently and have loved it since. My family's been on the first block of Newark Avenue since 1920s probably, so I've been here a while. My wife also has a family on the third block, and they've been here a long time. So I've known my wife since kindergarten. PS 23, PS 130. She went to Washington Irving, which is all girls. I went to Stuyvesant, all boys. So that's our short history in a nutshell. Questions?
I'm sure there will be lots of questions.
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Tim, you want?
Sure. So I'm Tim Pond. I have a pretty long history, not as long as John's. But by the way, I've known John as far as I remember from the 5th grade on. So we go back a long, long way, okay? And my grandfather had a house on the 100 block of Newark Avenue also. I don't remember that much about it because I think I was only 8 or 9 years old. But I know we had to sell that house because my grandfather had 4 sons and the house was not big enough. So he sold the house, and then I do remember going to Cliff Villa for one summer, maybe 2 summers, for that 1 week. Okay, that was also something I don't remember too much because once again I was very young. But then my father bought a house at 203 Park Place Avenue, I think in the 1970s, 1960s actually. And he had to sell that house also after a while. So Liz and I, my wife and I, we ended up buying a house in 1981 at 415 McCabe Avenue, which is, of course, as I mentioned, that was Katie Wong's house, okay, because Katie Wong's son, Louis, was married to my my aunt at that time. Okay, so that's our history, and so now we still live in Bradley Beach, and we are very lucky to be here as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I'm luckier more than some of the other people because I get to spend all the summers down here, and I'm talking about the entire summers because as I know in the audience, I know a lot of people are teachers here, and I know they're very dedicated. I wish I could say the same for me, but that's because I had the summers off because I was a teacher, so I was able to enjoy every single summer down here. Okay, and that's the truth. Okay.
So what can I say? For me, I wasn't, I mean, I was part of the Asian American community down here because I live right in it. You heard, I really, went to sleep with the mahjong tiles, right, going back and forth. But I also was part of this bigger community. Somebody asked me about Virgil's. I mean, that was such a staple for me. You don't know, but Virgil was, they had ping pong and ice cream sodas and penny candy, where you could get those dots and take them off and just eat sugar, right? And then he had pizza there for a while,
Pizza,
and subs, newspapers, trinkets. But Sal, I think he's still alive, right?
Yes,
I mean,
and his sister,
and his sister, I thought she was gonna be here, Rosie, right? And
Marian.
Marianne, sorry, the mother was Rosie. And so, they've been a staple here in Bradley Beach, and he had that stand on the boardwalk for
He
a
had a
while.
stand,
right?
he had a restaurant.
Restaurant, pizza, and all that stuff. So, it was very mixed for me. And my best friend down here, she was Irish Italian, So we were always singing Beatles songs. That's what I remember. So I have a different, generation of experience down here. Seeing all those great groups. And where's that place in Asbury Park?
Convention Hall.
Convention Hall, yeah, I saw Janis Joplin there, and the Beach Boys, and all those incredible groups. So that's what I grew up with, and I don't know, it's what?
They had their first date at Convention Hall.
Oh, first day, yeah. So under the boardwalk, right?
But you never heard of the Vaughn Monroe and his band.
Vaughn Monroe, yeah, I remember Vaughn Monroe.
No, it's really old.
So, I think the different generations have different experiences of it. And, your grandmother,
Yes,
yeah. What year was that she bought the house, or 2000?
1941, we think.
41, yeah. Way before I was born.
Me too.
Before you were born. So, but that's what keeps a community going, right? And the fact that I'm still coming down here to body surf and seeing somebody I grew up with, Bradley was here, right? You're part of his family. I haven't seen him in years. And that feels good to me, really. I mean, I wouldn't be here if that wasn't the case. And, Susan's having her 81st
Sure.
birthday today. This is the Doshams, as part of Ava's family.
Yeah.
So it's important that I'm so happy that the Historical Society is acknowledging this community. And it's not just us here, but we have been a contributor economically here to this town and culturally and just representing and as Asian Americans. I think that's an important thing to be acknowledged. So I really applaud the Historical Society for taking this time to do that. It means a lot to the community as well. I'll shut up now.
So consider how Chinatown was formed in Manhattan. I'm thinking like how we start to call Bradley Beach as Chinatown by the Sea. So as the pioneer family, John, so your family purchased the first house. So how did your grandmother bring other family over here? Because before I came or just after I came, I learned Chinatown, where Chinatown is, right? And in your exhibition, we even do a question where Chinatown ends. So we don't not only talk about Manhattan Chinatown, we talk about Chinatown everywhere, in Queens, in Brooklyn, in New Jersey. But today I start to think about not in New Jersey is so big, right? So it's in Bradley Beach, New Jersey. I think that's also a question we discussed. Our Chinese American history, Asian American history is part of the entire American history. So we make the history, we should be part of it.
Some entrepreneur, Chinese business that could have opened up a very fancier Chinese restaurant, but why not?
You have to remember that this was a summer community, and all the homes here had some great cooks. And to tell you the truth, it was nice not to eat Chinese food every day. When I went into the Army, I was so glad I had potatoes and not white rice. No, but it was mainly a summer community.
And looking at our archives, I realized in Manhattan, Chinatown, people are related to each other. So when Eva first came to me saying that, oh, I'm looking for the materials of pop, and then when we talk about Qing family, she talked about Michel Adair. So I'm like, oh, so people are all related to each other. So when I learned Tim's story, yeah, I realized actually he knew his wife even like whenever like when you were little in Broadway Beach, right? Can you tell us a little bit more?
Well, that was actually John, who I met his wife long time ago. I met my wife, let me think. I remember. I remember. Okay, anyway, so. Yes, anyway, well, we were talking about, I actually didn't meet her in Bradley Beach, I met her in New York City, okay, at a dance, okay, like, as Joe said, we all go to dances in those days, right? And that's where I met her, and I just want to mention, before I forget, that Jody's mentioning that you were a body surfer, okay? And that's great because I can never master that. I still cannot catch a wave with my body.
I can teach you.
Oh, okay. But I can surf and as
On a board?
I can surf on a surfboard. I used to anyway, and I can't body surf. When I first time went to Hawaii, I took a surfing lesson, and the first time you can stand up, it's really a great feeling. So after that, I came back to Bradley Beach, New Jersey, and I bought a surfboard. And you were talking about wipeouts. Well, I'm the king of the wipeouts. Okay. But anyway, and that's how I met my wife, yes.
So can your wife surf also?
No, she doesn't surf, but she does other sports. Well, we used to bowl, but we can't bowl anymore.
But the bowling alley is still here.
The bowling alley, I remember, was on Ocean Avenue and Newark Avenue, right? And back in those days, we're talking about the 1950s, I remember walking in, and I forgot how many lanes there were. I think it was 4 or 6 lanes, but you had to set the pins by hand. You actually had a friend walk to the back, right? If you bowled, whatever is a strike, he had to set up the pins, and then you bowled again. And I would never go back there because you could get hit by the pins and the ball. Okay, so that's what I remember of the bowling alley at Ocean Avenue and Newark Avenue. And then it became a bingo parlor for quite a few years also. And that got torn down, I think, about 5-6 years ago. And I think John knows what it's going to be turned into now.
Not sure.
No, not sure. It's an empty lot right now. Okay.
I actually have a question for John, which is just about, you know, meeting your wife and her sisters. They were a 37 Mott Street family, right? Did you, I can't remember for the life of me, did you say you met, how did you all meet again? Was it kindergarten?
My wife and I went to school together probably since kindergarten.
That's what it is, okay.
She lived across the street. So I needed a girlfriend that was close. I didn't know anything about Brooklyn or Queens, and I didn't want a too fair girlfriend. Because 10 cents is a lot on the subway.
The truth of the demographics comes out.
So, needless to say, we started dating, I guess I was in high school. We could take the subway together, come home together. Then I went to college, and she happened to work right on 8th Street where NYU was, so I didn't have to go far for anything. So we've been together, I don't know, 55 years or so. She can't surf, but she sure can cook.
And then, talk to us about how often did you see each other at Bradley?
Oh, conveniently, her family lived in the 3rd block. And I was on the 1st block, so we saw each other even in Bradley.
Incredible, great, thank you.
So it was destiny.
Destiny.
Oh, down there. Hi, David.
I've got to, when you were rather very young, coming down just for summers, how did you get around? What did any of your families have a car? Did you have bicycles? And my second question was, again, when you were very young and coming down here, how much freedom did you get from your parents as far as going out, staying out late, etc.?
Everyone heard that question, right? Modes of transportation and then the amount of freedom that you had in Bradley.
Well, my 2 uncles, I believe, had cars. We did not have a car. My father called his mode of transportation Mr. Penn, which was the Pennsylvania Railroad. So he would take that to Bradley Beach, and he'd either walk to our house or took a cab, which is probably 50 cents. Freedom. We had plenty of freedom here, not like New York City, although New York City, we could roam around everywhere. I could go out of my fire escape. That was our freedom.
Or the roof, the Tar Beach.
No, our roof
No, you-
didn't have a tar beach. My wife's building had
Yeah,
a
37 Tar Beach.
tar beach. We could go anywhere up through Main Street. We never went south past like Lorraine or Brindley, because we didn't know people there. We were able to go to Asbury Park, which was, we had to be home by 9 o'clock, but we had total freedom, and the bikes were a nice way to get around. We used to rent English racers, which were 3-speed bicycles, which were hot in those days. Now,
I'm gonna answer that. We used to ride bicycles in Ocean Grove when you couldn't ride them after Saturday night into Sunday, you couldn't watch television, you couldn't ride bicycles. And we'd go in there and all the cars would have to get out of Ocean Grove.
Right.
They couldn't park on the street. So they'd have to come to Bradley Beach and park. So there was no parking in Bradley. You'd have to save a parking spot, like if you were going out to the movies or something. And then we kids would take the bicycles and ride into Ocean Grove and see where the cops were and ride the other way, just to be bad. telling all our secrets now. You remember that though, right?
And I can add to that because it only took about 6 minutes to go from Asbury Park back to Bradley Beach on a bicycle. Okay, because I do remember that. And I think it was about 1979 when they actually repealed that law. And then everything opened up, but that was some time that you could ride through. And it was such a feeling that, when you go through Ocean Road, there's no cars on the street, nobody's walking around, and you just breeze through as quickly as you can, okay? And I was lucky, my father did have a car, so he was able to drive us down to Bradley Beach. But the bicycle was the main mode of transportation, and I remember, John remembers, we both worked on the boardwalk in Asbury Park. I did it for 2 summers, I did it for at least 1 summer. John was actually on the boardwalk doing the wheel games. You spin the wheel and you win a prize. And I was in the merry-go-round building, which is the merry-go-round's not there anymore. But inside the merry-go-round, you had skee ball, you had tic-tac-toe, and all these games. And I just made change, and I gave them the tickets that they won, of course. And usually if a friend came in, I give them extra tickets. Obviously, okay. So that we use our bicycles to get there. Right, that was our main mode of transportation.
So I have a question. Were those games rigged?
No, they were not rigged.
Okay. Over there.
I have a question. I was just wondering, like, when you were young, did you associate were there many families that you associated with, or were they mainly families that you knew, or were there a lot of families living there that you didn't know that you came into contact with? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Of Asian descent or
Well-
anybody?
Well, the thing is that, like, I have a connection, to Bradley Beach, but not with Newark Avenue, and not with any other Chinese family other than, my cousins that we lived with. Because
Where did you live?
we lived on
Central.
Central Avenue between Lorraine and McCabe. So Newark Avenue was far away. We did not go to Newark Avenue. We didn't go to the beach on Newark Avenue. We didn't know the families on Newark Avenue. So we mixed in with the general, Bradley Beach community. So we were unaware of this so-called Chinatown. So I'm just wondering, to what extent it was, the idea of Chinatown is that people are coming from everywhere and lots of people that you don't know, as opposed to families that, you're relating to them because they're, your family, your mother knows, that other mother or that, so it's that is a more familial kind of connection. So that's what I'm trying to understand. That we had no relationship to any of you, but you had a community.
But I think it's also geographically desirable, right? That a lot of people were of the same family, and then some people, like my family, was not really a part of them, but we were living there, so they became our neighbors, right? If we were on McCabe, but we weren't on McCabe. That was Italian in those days,
And
So-
Jewish.
And yeah, so.
But, so I guess I was just trying to understand that because we didn't know about that Chinese connection.
Yeah.
And I think that what we experienced was a wonderful, welcoming community where we felt at home. And that's, that speaks very well of Bradley Beach.
And what year did you come in?
I guess that was in the 50s and 60s.
Mid-50s.
Yeah. Between,
64.
maybe from 55
All
to
right,
65.
I have a question for you. How was it that your family found itself in Bradley Beach or made that decision to come to Bradley?
We came because of our cousins,
Uh-huh.
and I don't know how they discovered it. My uncle was a fisherman, so, I think that was the main connection. And he he probably had some Chinatown connection. I mean, I would assume that, you know, from, they learn that you're welcome here, that you can come here and be comfortable. I'm assuming that something like that happened.
All right. So my parents bought a house at 706 Central Avenue. My sister thinks it was 1952, and it was a duplex, one level duplex. And so our two families summered there for about a dozen years. And so we cousins kind of grew up together, and our happiest memories were at the beach. My father was an avid fisherman, had a boat. We did a lot of fishing, and he took pride in bringing his extra fish to Newark Avenue. So, I mean, he was connected in that sense. He knew people who would welcome his extra catch. But it's true what Linda said, is in that we were 7 cousins sharing our summers in this house a few blocks from Newark Avenue, but we didn't actually socialize with people there. We didn't have anything against Newark Avenue. It's just that we were having so much fun among ourselves that we were just very happy, enjoying the summers, the beaches, the birthday parties we shared. So we're seeing this a little bit as kind of outsiders. We were near New York Chinatown, but we were living in New Jersey, and we were in Bradley Beach. Again, we were near Newark Avenue, but we weren't of Newark Avenue. But we were near the beach, right? So anyway, we're all enjoying this very much. I mean, especially, it's just been a wonderful experience, and thank you to the organizers. Thank you to our speakers and performers. Wonderful. And let's keep it up. Let's do this every year. I suggest this every year.
But, I just want to add to what some folks were talking about. I think your experience is it is a very Bradley Beach experience. And that is, part of this Chinese American Bradley Beach experience. When I reconnected with the Chin side of my family again, I saw photographs, so many photographs of my sisters and our cousins at the house, on the boats on the lakes, on Fletcher Lake, and it was one of those things where I was like, wow, how amazing is that when your family is so large and you're so interconnected, and for better or for worse, you like each other, right? I mean, actually, that's a really great thing. So there's ways in which our families are connected and interconnected, even within the family. I think it's incredible. I mean, that's the kind of thing that you would have, like, if we were in China, right? Back in the day. So the fact that our families were able to recreate that is really, that is part of the Chinese American experience, even if you weren't part of the, Chinese on Newark, but you were Chinese on, on Central. How far away is my Chin family on Central there? Only a few blocks. Did you know the Chin family on Central? Okay.
But I must say that my husband's mother grew up in 37 Mott.
Okay, so.
What floor?
Yeah, what floor?
What floor?
What floor?
Do you know what floor?
Oh, we think second.
I think it's second floor.
All right.
There's a
Being a lot of people live in the city and in Bradley Beach, the influence of alcohol or drugs, did anybody bring that influence to Bradley Beach, or you occur any of that experience? Because in the city, even at that age, you might have been exposed in the city, but how was that in Bradley Beach?
We might have had a beer under the boardwalk, but That was drug sauce. We were before drugs, I think. Really, we never had an issue like that I'm aware of. I mean, smoking maybe, because I worked on the wheels at Asbury Park and the prizes were cigarettes. Can you imagine that nowadays? You used to get free Newports.
Oh, that's too funny. Shirley?
Hi, I'm Shirley. When you knew the summer was arriving and you would be going to Bradley Beach, how did your parents prepare for the trip? Did they like buy up like all the fruits and vegetables from Chinatown, Manhattan, and brought it over, or did they say, oh, let's just do some of the shopping here in Bradley Beach with some other items that they wanted to try to cook instead of always cooking Chinese? I know John was saying, oh, it was a nice break to not always eat Chinese. So I just want to know, did you go out to eat like Italian, or did you try to make other foods, or did your parents bring like cases and cases of everything that you needed for your summer stay?
They did the Chinese technique. They had 3 plastic shopping bags in each hand and ran down the street with all that goodies. No, on the second block of Newark Avenue were 2 large fruit stands. They were stores, really. And there was also a kosher meat market. So we didn't have a car. We didn't go to the supermarkets, but we did bring things down. Or as people came down, everyone brought vegetables and things. But we also had fruit and vegetable vendors drive trucks down the street. So we could get soda, you got bread off the truck, and vegetables, ice cream, the Good Humor truck. So, and you're thinking about this, is only about 8 weeks, so every Chinese house has enough food for 8 weeks. Chicken broth, 100 pounds of rice.
Can you talk to us? I'm gonna give this. I'm gonna because it's interfering. Can you talk to us about the importance of fishing in the area for your families? I know our family was really big into fishing here, but I'm curious about for your families.
I know Lou's father was a fisherman. I remember that. But as far as my family, in Belmar Boat Basin, when fishing boats come in, they would sell the fish off the boats. So, I think my father went over there and bought right directly from the fishing boats in Belmar Boat Basin. As far as having dinners, I think my parents and my aunt, they cooked most of the meals because I don't remember ever going out to a restaurant growing up in Bradley Beach. We always ate at home. So they must have brought the vegetables and everything down with them. Okay, but of course, now that we have our own house, we go out a lot of times. Just likes to go out to eat, so we're usually out having dinner somewhere. Okay.
Well, we can also. Oh, I see some hands. Well, yeah, at this table in the white. I forgot your name. I'm so sorry. Christine. Yeah.
Yes, hi. Thank you again for all your stories of your past life in Bradley Beach. I guess this is more a question for Tim and John. How is life today in Bradley Beach? Different compared to back then? What you like, what you miss?
I don't think it could be any better. We love it down here. We're retired. We're on Social Security, so what else could be better than that? No, it's really lovely. I can park my car in front of my house in the winter. It is crowded in the summer, but I enjoy meeting everyone, seeing friends, old friends, new experiences like this. So, I mean, this has been much better than I expected this occasion. Jane asked me in the beginning to be part of this, and I would say, to me, I was like, I don't know, do we want to do this? And it's much bigger than I expected, so, but it's really been fun. We enjoy doing it. We've met a lot of new people, and, you know, that's part of the experience. And it's Bradley Beach. We love it.
As a teenager, I hung around Newark Avenue the most, I think, right, because that's where my friends are. And then look somewhat on Park Place Avenue. So that's why after we rented a summer bungalow for 3 summers, after my father sold the house, there's another, we just rented for 3 summers on Newark Avenue, on the 400 block, because we wanted to be in the area where our friends are. So when we started looking for a house to buy, we were looking for 3 summers, I asked the real estate person, I want to be, here's what the box. It's Ocean Avenue, Newark Avenue, and Park Place Avenue. Okay, that's what I wanted. Of course, because that's my uncles were on Park Place Avenue, and we had a house on Park Place Avenue. So he didn't find anything. But luckily, my uncle called my father and told us the house in 450 McCabe Avenue was available. And so we jumped right at it, okay? And we're so happy to have that house there. And we've been there since 1981, okay? And this is really something for John and I. We figured out we have 5 generations in our family that are spending time here. My grandfather, my father, myself, my daughter, and her children. I have 1 children, I have another daughter. So we're talking about 5 generations of enjoying Bradley Beach, New Jersey. Okay, so for us, it's great. Okay, I don't intend to ever sell my house. Okay, I don't think John will either, because it's going to go to our kids, right? And it's a great place to bring up children. Okay.
And I also have a question.
So the question is, would you retire here permanently in Bradley Beach? Do you miss Chinatown, like the food there, dim sum there?
Has the Chinese food improved here?
Locally, the Chinese food has not improved. But as I said, my wife's a great cook. Edison, New Jersey is not too far for dim sum. There's a lot of other places. Atlantic City's getting a little better. And we enjoy the casino, so it's gotten better. But, you know, we don't have to eat Chinese food all the time.
And I'm lucky because we still have our apartment in Southbridge Towers in Manhattan. Okay, so we're there. We come back and forth from Bradley Beach, so we don't have to worry about food, getting Chinese food, which is coming with it, and Chinatown. But we're also lucky that we have a house in if you ever heard of the Villages in Florida, it's a big retirement community. So we're there for about 6 months. So we really have it pretty good, and I think we're just lucky, and we are so lucky to have a house in Bradley Beach and be able to spend our summers here. Okay, and once again, as I mentioned, I do spend my entire summers here because, as a teacher, we had the summers off, and that's the idea.
So you talk about 8 weeks summer break in Bradley Beach. So I'm wondering, so what your parents did at the time? So did they come over with you for the entire 8 weeks, or they have to work in Chinatown, Manhattan?
My mother was a teacher at PS 23, so she had the whole summer off. My father worked at the Bank of China and the Chinese American Bank in Chinatown, so he had the weekends off. So that's how we managed here.
Okay, so my father basically dropped us off for the summer because he was actually working 6 days a week, 5 days a week in AT&T in New Jersey, but he was also a waiter on Sundays, and I'm sure a lot of your parents are waiters or work in the laundry. So basically, we spent our summers there, and we needed our bicycles to get around, okay?
So, a question over there.
No, I like to hear the love story for Bradley Beach. A love story. Okay? My grandfather rented houses out in Newark Avenue, the stucco house, the white stucco house back in 1936. Been to Bradley Beach since 1936. Okay, this is my uncle sitting right there. And we used to be like my other cousin, Three Musketeers. Okay, they were same age, same troubles. Well, anyway, that's when we started. Back in 1944, I was at Cliff Villa. A young girl came upon on the weekend, and she tossed the ball underneath the porch, and I crawled under to get it. 1949, my uncle and my grandfather rented a house on Newark Avenue, right next to the Wong house, Mrs. Wong's house. And that's when this young lady used to walk up the boardwalk carrying an umbrella to set up for the sister and the kids. So naturally, gentlemen, I say, could I carry your umbrella? She was quite cute. So anyway, that went on for 1949. And then after that, we went to Wong Monroe with my uncle to listen to dance at the convention hall for 99 cents. So that's the first date. And then from there on, 1954, we were married, and they were married a little after that, a year or two later. And we're 90 years old. We're still together. Later year, my parents purchased a house on Park Place. We have 5 siblings in my family. So my mother came back right after the summer. He said, yeah, I bought a house. I said, Mom, what kind of house did you buy? I said, I bought a rooming house with 12 bedrooms. So each sibling got 2, and she maintained 2, and my father was the cook. So no complaints about eating, and if you didn't like it, pizza on the boardwalk. So that's how that went on for Bradley Beach. So there's love stories in Bradley Beach. I met her the first time I set sight on her, we're in Cliff Villa. I was staying at Cliff Villa. So there is romance in Bradley Beach.
So our origin story, my parents met each other in Bradley Beach as well. So my great-grandmother had the house that Tim bought. So now, of course, I regret that was ever sold when we look at the housing prices. But anyway.
All our cousins are mad now.
So originally, though, my great-grandmother lived on Newark Avenue, had a house on Newark Avenue. And then right next door was my father's family's house. And my dad, he went away to school, to boarding school when he was in high school. And so he came home one summer and needed a date. So his cousins were like, hey, sorry, his nephew.
He's my uncle.
His nephew said, hey, what about the old, grandma? Grandma has a granddaughter. Maybe you can ask her out. So they started dating when my mom was 16 and my dad was 17.
Right.
So,
here we are.
after 74 years, we've come full circle.
We're back in New Jersey.
Herbie and Ida, they're at Seabrook, which is about 10 miles away from here.
Senior home.
And 2 years ago, I moved back from Florida, and we're staying there together. So the 4 of us are still, again, together.
We still think when we go out to eat.
Yeah. But he asks me out.
Wonderful, wonderful to look back. Many of us are, or many of you are grandfathered in, literally, okay? But looking ahead, with the high property values, high cost of living, what do you see as far as other Chinese families moving in? Younger people? Are younger people able to buy in to Bradley Beach? is there a future for Chinatown by the Sea, whether or not you like that term? What is the future? Thank you.
Well, with housing prices here skyrocketing like everywhere else, it's very difficult to buy a home. It's difficult to rent a home for thousands of dollars a week down here. I mean, my mother paid that for the house, and you get a week now. It's hard for me to understand that. You know, it's difficult. The mortgage rates are high, and believe it or not, there's no availability. So, unless the kids get the house from the grandparents or their folks, it's not going to happen.
What's the property tax like?
For New Jersey, we just had an increase here, Mr. Mayor, wherever he is. It's high. Not as high as other places, but New Jersey is always high.
We're on the 400 block of McCabe Avenue, and our property taxes are over $13,000. Okay, and talking about rentals, because we do have a rental house right across the street from us, and they are getting $1,000 for a weekend. Okay? It's very expensive.
I'm John's first cousin. I want to tell the story how when our house at 104 got too crowded, my parents moved across the street and had to buy the 3 houses because they came as a package, and that was in the mid-1950s, and I believe it was $10,000 for those. And just 2 years ago, good friends of ours purchased those 3 homes for just under $1 million. So things have gone up. But I want to go back to the food issue because when I was thinking about good memories of Bradley Beach, I can remember going to bed on a Friday night, and I could tell when my father had driven down from Chinatown because I could smell the char siu from Gary Long's father's char siu place, the best char siu. Where I missed that place, but that's how it was. The food would come. They had food here, but a lot of takeout came in. And my dad, it was a nice memory because he was a physician in Chinatown on Mott Street. He was the second English-speaking doctor in Chinatown. And actually, Karen, my wife, has a nice memory about my dad taking care of patients right in Bradley Beach.
Okay. So I only started going to Bradley Beach when we got married in the 1970, but I'm partial to kids because I'm an educator, and I remember, the houses, you had the porch, and our door was open, and we had a screen door, so people were always welcome. And I remember one day, little Joey came with his mom, Joey and his mom, Diane, and then I hear at the front door, "Hey, Doc, hi, Doc." And then my father-in-law goes out with his little black bag, and there right in the house, they come into the house, and he gave Joey his allergy shots. And I thought that was so unusual, but it was so nice that a child could feel so comfortable that you could be on vacation and not be afraid and get your allergy shot. And my father is from Hawaii, so he's really easygoing and calm, and I felt like, oh, that's the aloha spirit in our house. And so that was nice. I always remember that, and I think not too long ago we were in Chinatown, and we saw Joey, who's now I think about 60 years old, with his mom Diane. But he's still doing well. And it's just nice when you can just be like a community. Like, you didn't need your credit card, you didn't need your insurance card, but you could just get your medical care there.
Thank you. Can we have his name? Can you say his name? The
Dr. Arthur, oh, the little boy?
Yeah, no, the doctor, Dr. Arthur.
Oh, Dr. Arthur Liu.
Thank you.
So he was married to John Mock's, he was married to John Mock's mom. John Mock's mom was the oldest, and my mother-in-law was the second.
So I heard that your dad also worked in Chinatown as a doctor. Is that true?
My grandfather. But long before any of you were born, he was just out of medical school, and he started working. He lived on Henry Street, and he started practicing in Chinatown in 1903, 1904. His claim was that he was the only Caucasian who was allowed in the Chinatown by the Toms, which is a little bit exaggerated, but obviously he was an OBGYN doctor. So I'm afraid that he was probably taking care of the brothels. That's all I can figure. But I'm going to do some research on that.
Thank you, Paul. So it's weird.
This is not a speech, don't worry. I'm John's sister, so please cut me a little slack. I just wanted to name some people who were connected either to my family or to the Chinese in Bradley Beach. Number one, Gloria Willandis, who happens to live next door to John and me. I wanted her to come today, but she couldn't make it. She would have been the last vestige of Cliff Villa. Her father was the director. Those weekends or all the summers that people came, and I believe he was the basketball coach at Church of All Nations. And I discovered that the Willandis family lived, her father's, I don't know what his last name was, that was her married name, but they lived on the second floor of Church of All Nations. And I'm not even sure the building is there anymore, not there anymore. My mother was married at Church of All Nations, so I'm guessing that it might have been the only Protestant church nearest to Chinatown where you could hold a wedding, but I'm not sure. We lived at 104 Newark Avenue, and the house next to us was 102. The first house on the north side of Newark Avenue was a Jewish family with a big house next to our smaller one. Two families downstairs and a big central staircase with three families upstairs, so you had two porches in that house. So I figure we must have been neighbors for at least 60 years or so. And the kids played together. We played games. No cowboys and Indians. I think we were chasing Nazis and Gestapo in those days. I'd like to mention somebody named Eddie Hall. Eddie ran the concession for the umbrellas and chairs that you would rent to take to the beach. He was down at the Cliff Avenue entrance to the beach. So he got to know the whole Cliff Villa gang very well. That's Hall, H-A-L-L. He went from that, he started to fly the planes that go across the ocean. When you're at the beach and you see this thing, Paramount Theater is showing such and such a movie, and advertising, he flew those. And then he went on to fly corporate planes for a big paper company up in Maine. So he visited us one day and we started to renew Christmas cards again. I think he'd get a big kick out of my mentioning his name in this crowd because he loved the Cliff Villa guys. And he, after all these years, when I saw him, he threw out two Chinese expressions to me, and I knew exactly what he was saying because the accent was very good. The Baumeisters had a bakery at the foot of the bridge on the Bradley Beach side, where there's now a condo. It's a condo. My grandfather, I understand, had sent family to Cliff Villa. That's what you told me, Pat? So, yeah, okay. Confirmed by Uncle Pete.
that they went to Cliffville in the beginning. And then he had a big family, so he wanted to rent space somewhere, and he found some space. I guess by then he had 7 children. And then the family was told that they had to move because somebody on their block, or no, on their floor or in the building did not want to live with Chinese people. So he had to find someplace else. And the Baumeisters, who had a bakery, said, well, we have a place that would be available if you wanted it. So that's where my grandfather moved the family for quite a few years. I don't know when they started there, but they were there until Grandma bought the house in 42 on Newark Avenue. And none of these people are Chinese, by the way, as you can tell, but I just wanted to give them some kind of mention. And Don Whitehead had a garage on Ocean Avenue. It's the white building between Newark and Cliff, and it was a big garage, and I think he had the Ocean Grove buses parked there at night. As you can imagine, Ocean Grove had no space for taking care of their own buses, so they were stored there and parked there and serviced there. So anyway, that was part of my childhood there. And I heard somebody asking about an alcohol problem. I thought I had a wonderful time. Herbie's not here anymore. We were teenagers here. It was a great time to be a teenager in those years. We had a lot of fun. If I missed something or naive, that's my problem. But it was a terrific summer. And I was just telling Paul, I think, people have been writing articles lately about missing summer camp, not by children, these are psychologists, people, adults now, who are saying, boy, they miss summer camp. And just yesterday or today, there was an article about why Jewish people should be sending their children to Jewish camps, because it's such a good experience for them. So in many ways, Bradley was summer camp, even if your family was with you. And it was a really good time. And we look back at it fondly. That's it. Thank you. Thank you